I got a great job that I wasn't qualified for on paper. I'm making more money than I ever have in my entire life, but I've never felt more disconnected from who I actually am and what I actually wanted from life. If you don't know who I am, then I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Coven. I'm a writer, producer, and director. I have a production company called Honeyshock, and it's my passion. It's what I want to do with my life. I want to make films, I want to produce stories, and help people make their own. So I wanted to make this video as a diary to kind of take note of all the things I've learned. I wanted to start off by talking about the real issue, capitalism. We have to work to make money to survive. Being poor, being broke is gonna stunt your creativity. The next thing in your mind is, I gotta go to work this time, I'm so tired. If the pursuit of making money to survive is your number one priority, it just becomes hard to try to prioritize making art. So I made my decision. I said I'm gonna make money so I can get out of debt, essentially. So I can stop having to rob Peter to pay Paul. I made my decision, but I wasn't satisfied with it once I had at least a modicum of what I wanted. I spent so much time trying to make myself marketable and valuable to companies that I didn't invest any time in making myself marketable in the things that I was interested in. So I find myself kind of playing catch up now, trying to find time to increase my skill set in the things I want to do and still balance the things that I need to do to remain competitive in the job market. I hate the notion that you're selling out when in reality you're just trying to prioritize your needs over your wants. So a lot of us have to choose. And it's okay, but that's the point of this video. It's finding your way back to who you sacrificed because you chose comfort. But I wanted to talk more about how I found my way back to my creative voice. So I separated what I did to get my creative voice back into 3 parts: revelation, revitalize, and reunite. Revelation is all about stopping the cycle. At a certain point, not creating becomes your norm, and before you know it, you look up and it's been months since you've made anything. And you start to really feel this disconnect from your creative self and who you are now. So that first moment of revelation is very important in getting to the rest of these, because if there's no revelation, there's no coming back. There's no reuniting with who you were. For example, I'm stubborn, so I usually need to get a sign a few times, and I had two experiences. I had 2 experiences back to back that made me realize that I had become this person that I did not want to be. The first was an internal experience. I watched the movies Bodies, 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 and something was just lit up inside me. It was like, where have I been? Kind of moment. Like, why haven't I been working towards making something like that? You don't know me, but if you do, you know I love dark comedy, and just the fast-paced, the colorful characters, and the fact that they found the comedy in such a horrific situation. I was like, I need to be there. I need to be in a room making something like that. And that just sat with me for so long. Like, why haven't I been writing? Why haven't I been doing anything like that? I met up with a friend a few days later, and we usually joke around, but he looked me in my face and was like, you need to be creating. I don't know what you're doing with what time you have. I know you have a corporate job now. You need to be creating for a few hours a day. Those hours accumulate and they mean something. And if you let them go to waste, you're gonna let 20 years of your life go by. I remember him saying that to me so seriously, and this man is never serious. And I was like, this feels like something I need to listen to. I remember just thinking, this feels like a very specific sign. Like, he's saying something very out of character right now, but it's still very important and relevant to me. The fact that I just saw Bodies, 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 and then he's talking to me, I knew I needed to do something. That combined made me realize I need to be intentional about where I'm spending my energy and time when it comes to creative endeavors because of my other obligations. So that's what really started me on this next step. So after you've had your revelation, whether it's internal or external, the next thing you're going to want to do is revitalize. What I did was I took a catalog of my life. I looked at, what am I prioritizing now? What am I spending my energy and time on? And what makes me happy? And what is the deficit between those things? Your job might be fine and it might provide you comfort, but doesn't make you happy. I felt for a while, well, it doesn't make me unhappy, but the absence of unhappiness is not happiness. It's apathy. And there's a difference between being apathetic towards something versus this makes me happy, this makes me smile. So if it's easier for you to word it as what makes you smile, use that. And if what you're currently doing doesn't make you happy, then ask yourself what does. Now that you have your what, you can move on to your why. The why is so important because it's what's going to keep you warm when the flame of your what dies down. When you feel too tired to write or draw or make music, your why is your anchor. It is what's going to remind you of the real reason you're doing this. And this one's hard to find, and it might not hit you for a while, but when it does, it will resonate through you and keep you going when you're running on fumes. After you've cataloged your life, found out what makes you happy, and found out your why, it's time to make little sacrifices in your life. This part's hard, but I wouldn't go all or nothing. If after work you spend 2 hours watching TV, catching up on a show, maybe instead of doing that every day, you can cut it to every other day. So you're spending those 2 hours writing instead of watching TV. And bigger examples are if you are planning on going out every weekend, maybe cut back on that. It's just little changes lead to big results. It doesn't always have to be all or nothing. You can still love creating and have a life, which leads us to reuniting with your creative self. Because it's not going to be you wake up tomorrow and suddenly you have all this time and energy to create, but it's a slow process, and that's why I talk about little sacrifices that lead to big victories. The hope is once you've done the first two, you'll be at the step of reuniting with yourself. It's I was sad to see you go, but I'm glad you've come back kind of reunion. And essentially the final step is just to commit to everything you did in the second step. The friend I mentioned earlier told me to write 2 hours every night after work, and I'm gonna be honest, I did not do that. And I have not done that consistently since he told me. But I went from not writing for over 6 months to writing at least 2 to 3 times a week. And if I'm not writing, I'm doing research. I'm watching other creators that have inspired me, or I'm reading stories by other writers and studying their syntax, their story structure. Ironically, because I spent so much time away, having come back to it more, I have a greater appreciation and respect for storytelling. Because I didn't just throw everything at myself and say, okay, I'm going to write 2 hours every night and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. Because I had a slow reintroduction into things. It feels less like something I have to do, less like an obligation, and more like something I get to do. I get to take time out of my day to create something. I get to take time to make something out of nothing. And I don't think we give ourselves credit for how hard that is. I was talking with a friend and we were talking about how it's so much easier to just be and do nothing, but we choose the harder route. And then we kind of punish ourselves when we can't always live up to our expectations. And I think we need to let that go and realize that as artists, we are often living 2 lives and are trying to give all of our energy to both, so much so that we forget to give energy to ourselves. So if 2 hours sounds like too much to you, start with 10 minutes. Go to 15, maybe 20. Maybe just read a story you like, or watch a movie you love. Try to open your eyes to the things that make you happy to be alive. Because I know with most creators, creating is why we exist. I hope the time you've taken to watch this video has opened your eyes to the fact that you need to dedicate time to yourself. Your real self, not just your work self. And go make something. Right now. I saw this one video where this girl was saying, I don't even want you to subscribe. Right now, what I want you to do is go create something. I want you to go open up that Word document. Go dust her off. Go open up a good book. Go talk to a friend you haven't talked to in a while. Do anything that makes you feel happy to be alive. All right, that was all I had to say. I'm gonna let my outro self take it away. I hope this video was a help. I would love to hear about what you do to reunite with your creative self. I hope you check out the links in the description to learn more about myself and Honeyshock. want to make more videos about what it's like being an artist in this world and my creative process itself, so stick around. My next video is going to be insight into how I'm creating a film under $500. It's a lot and it's going to be fun, and I'm going to try to take you guys along the journey. It'll especially be helpful for first-time filmmakers figuring out what they can and can't do, what is within and outside of budget, but I want it to be an educational experience so I can just show you guys how I do things. You guys can give me pointers, I can give you pointers where I can, and we can all just support each other as a community. If you like this video, like it. If you didn't, why are you still watching? And come hang out with me on my socials. They'll be in the description. All right, bye. I think reunite. Great. I think I got that part. I mean, we can move on. My next video is going to be insight into how I'm making a film. My next video is